on your face in the chair, but yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay. Um, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. And um, it's nice talking to you about this particular topic, lung cancer mortality in Florida. And it's something that I'm passionate about, starting it off right from after when I finished my master's thesis. I did for Milwaukee, Wisconsin for my master's, and then I'm currently working for Highlands County. And then I just love using GIS to see how it tells stories relating to health disparity. And today, particularly, I'll be talking to you about lung cancer and mortality rates in Florida, then also showing you the spatial patterns and the clusters that were detected, areas of high and low clusters, and also explaining some factors that deals with the travel time dynamic. Oh, sorry about the noise. Moving on, as you all know, I mean, I believe that we all have someone, or maybe at least someone that we heard of or know that have, you know, had issues with cancer. It could be lung cancer, pancreatic, ovarian, or different types of cancer. But cancer is one of the major causes of like death in the United States. And actually it comes like it's the second, which means the first is issues relating to heart diseases. So that makes cancer the second. And then in 2022 alone, you've seen deaths related to like over 600,000 deaths related to cancer. And it also increases due to factors that are, making it to increase or feeding it. So it's estimated according to CDC that at least one in every five Americans die from cancer. So this is like a wide spectrum. It could be lung, it could be varieties of different types of cancer. So that becomes an issue. It's not just that people are losing their life, it's also that people are, losing billions of dollars and as well not also contributing to the American society because of the time that they will use in contributing, they use it in running around for their health and trying to get it fixed. So moving on, that's on cancer, but specifically today we are dealing with lung cancer. And then we on the screen here you can see how it looks. The the much more red one is a healthy lungs, and then the one that yellow with dark patches are the unhealthy one. And it's also nice to know that lung cancer in most people doesn't show symptoms. So it doesn't show symptoms until it's metastasizes, and it makes prognosis very difficult for the patient. So there is also disparity in lung cancer. That disparity varies when it comes to gender, geography, even like poverty and a lot of other things. So, but looking at lung cancer particularly, this is from the Global Cancer Statistics in 2022, the study that they did in 185 countries. they show that there's still a disparity when it comes to gender in lung cancer, and with over 1 million men dying from cancer in 2022, and then roughly over half a million of women dying from lung cancer alone worldwide in all these 185 countries. And that would also that would also lead us to seeing how not just lung cancer, but also other types of cancer that have contributed in such, loss when it has to do with cancer. So lung cancer, it's also interesting to know that it's single-handedly lung cancer from these charts too. Lung cancer causes more deaths when compared to prostate, breast, and maybe let's say pancreatic cancer combined. So when you combine prostate, you combine let's say breast cancer, and then you combine let's say ovary, lung cancer causes more death than all of them. So it becomes a major issue. It's the major cause of death in both male and female in all cancer types. So it's a huge issue. And then that led me to try to understand where or how are these mortality rates, distributed in Florida. And then that will give us an insight uh, in trying to allocate health resources to places that need it. And then, more like prioritizing places that need it and be much more efficient. Then computing data from CDC in the timeline of 2018 and 2022. Here it shows majorly that there's a whole lot of, high mortality rates in, if you can see that, I hope you can see that. So there is a whole high level of mortality rate when it comes to the northern region of Florida when compared to the southern region. And in this case, there's a whole lot of factors that contributed to, that is contributing to this. It could be due to disparity in geography. You know, these areas are maybe a whole lot of them are rural areas, and the ones in the south are more urbanized. It could also be that people in the north they have lower rate of people that graduated from uh, colleges or high schools, and then while in the south it's more. And then since it's rural in the northern part, then that makes it also smoking prevalent. That means more people are likely to smoke, and it could also be areas of low economic um, progress. And understanding that it just has to, bring more questions. Why is this happening? And it's more like prompt me to try to answer and see how it varies. And in understanding this, I also try to compare these mortality rates with race of people. And here we have, so I ended up creating a Bavarian chart. Here you could see a Bavarian chart that combined the population of Black in America, and then lung cancer mortality. This is a bivariant map. And then the darkest areas shows areas that has a high mortality rate and high Black populations. And then you can see it's like most of them are scattered in the north. And then I also did the same for Hispanic population. And here you can see um, areas that are much more like darker purple, like these areas. So there are still areas that has, high lung cancer mortality rates and high Hispanic populations. Then I ended up doing for the white population, and You can see the darker green ones. So that's that's to show the relationship between race and lung cancer. And but that would also leave me with a lot of questions that would most likely where or what could be causing this. So remember initially I tried to understand these patterns with race and I ended up, okay, what could be the major causes of lung cancer? And as you could also guess, 80 to 90% of lung cancer is associated with smoking. Now it's smoking of all kinds. It could be vaping, it could be any kind of smoking. So if one is smoking, then that means they have high propensity to having a lung cancer. And then it's not just about, the person that is smoking. Another key issue is the secondhand smoker. So if one is smoking and he's not just the one in danger, people around him is in danger. If he's a man, then the partner, the wife is in danger, the kids are in danger. So it's like the whole family is in danger from this lifestyle. And most of the time, people are not aware that 20% of lung cancer related issues are due to secondhand smoking. So people that have not even smoked in their life having lung cancer because they are exposed to people that were smoking and they inhale those smokes because they're in the room or something like that. So some of those factors, um, perpetuate or maybe makes lung cancer much more prevalent. Then also here, I also have like exposure to some environmental factors like radon, and it's I don't know, but like I feel like it's radon is not probably talked much about, like the role it plays in lung cancer. So some of those environment radon is an natural occurring um, gas or something in the environment. So once there's a high volume of radon in a particular place, it tends to also impact the person, which might lead to lung cancer. Though there's still studies trying to make a much more distinctive relationship within those. And also areas with high PM 2.5, particulate matter, and economic factors also plays role as regards to poverty and some other things. And it's important to know that poverty is also multidimensional. Then also cultural plays a role because a certain group of people, it reminds me of an article that I was reading during my thesis, which was trying to make a relationship why and how people didn't trust the health system. And so that lack of trust in the health system might also, make people not wanting to engage in engage in any kind of thing that would make them, they don't trust this, so they don't want to go there because they don't simply trust it. And and that is it. So if you also take a look at the smoking here, you can see that this is also a map relating lung cancer mortality rate with adults smoking. And then the darker ones are like here, and then some of these ones are areas where there is also like high mortality rate and then high adult smoking. And then speaking about another factor that is impacting lung cancer is also poverty. So poverty is multidimensional and it's just complicated because poverty it kind of leads to a lot of other things. Poverty will be a likely answer to why someone is exposed to some particular things. I mean, if they are rich, they would have gone to a better location, for instance. It's also poverty that would also explain if someone is living or if someone is having access to healthcare. And poverty could also impact the survival of a particular disease, the outcome of a particular disease, apart from, I mean, not just lung cancer alone. And it also plays a role in someone's lifestyle. And it, I mean, someone that is poor is most likely, to smoke because some of these smoking advertisements are just targeted into areas or a particular neighborhood of people that are not so, wealthy. So it becomes something for them to hold on to if they are stressed. So poverty becomes a major factor in lung cancer and other types of diseases. It becomes a factor in its incidence, in its mortality rate, and also in its survival. And as you could also, I mean, as you know, also there's also a great deal of financial burden that comes with this. So that uncertainty might, make people not just make people lose it. And then showing you all these factors. One that I also didn't include here is comorbidities. So comorbidities is the occurrence of a particular disease, is the occurrence of maybe two or more diseases in a particular person. So studies have also shown that there's some disease that that if someone has it or someone is also going through it, there are also there's also likelihood of them, having lung cancer. Some of those that are still under study, and then there's some article published about it, trying to relate or not to relate. It could also be things like obesity, and so maybe something like obesity having a relationship with lung cancer, and some other diseases like asthma and all those. Also, someone with that also have high chances of also having lung cancer. So having shown you all these risk factors and then special patterns of in lung cancer, it's all about, okay, where is it? Which county, at least in Florida, is much more affected? A county that has highest rates if we're to go into this particular state and try to ameliorate the situation there. So using the GIS tool, I also did the hotspot analysis with the data set that I have, which is lung cancer mortality rates from 2018 to 2022. Here we see a cluster of a lung cancer mortality rates in northern, majorly northern Florida hotspots. So that simply tells us that these areas are areas where there are very much likelihood that these issues, they are dealing with these mortality rates. It's high there. So that's the area that we want to focus on. But, and then the southern parts are like, it's there, but it's not really, it's not really an issue. It could be that because they have access to healthcare facilities. It could be that there is lesser poverty, they are more educated there. It could be a whole lot of factors. And then mostly people in the South could also be that they are old and then they have better insurance to, take care of them and all that. So that is it. And to understand the relationship in the cluster, I decided to venture into, okay, I understand there's a mortality rate. Is there any relationship also with the mortality rate and then the amount of facilities that we have, the testing facilities? It's very important to also note that when it comes to lung cancer, early detection is the key. And just like I mentioned earlier, if one doesn't know, I mean, you barely know until some people wouldn't know until it gets so, spread and it becomes difficult to deal with. So early diagnosis is very important. And that would lead us to, trying to see areas or places that people can get testing. Are those areas close to them? And then most often time for one to qualify for eligibility, I think it's about from 45 years and above for you to be eligible, because you also don't want to expose yourself to those rays as they also, maybe probably destroy some things in your body. So people, just to show the relationship between where the facilities are and then where it's happening, I ended up creating a kernel density map. And then if you could also take a mental picture, the higher the areas with much more, darker colors of purple shows area where there's high concentration of lung cancer screening centers in Florida. And if you remember in our previous, where there is the cluster, um, there is little or nothing going on, like in area in the north. And that, so to also show you, a much more detailed concept, I also included all the whole 141 lung cancer screening centers in Florida from the American College of Radiology. And this is the data that I got from American College of Radiology, and then just coded them into ArcGIS to see the locations. And you could also see so you could also see how most of the facilities are towards, you know, most of them are in the south, and shows disparity in facility allocation too, in terms of geography in North and Southern Florida. Then lastly, I decided to see, okay, I've seen the spatial patterns, I've seen the clusters, and I've also seen there's also a relationship between where it is, where the facilities are, and then also where it's happening. But I wanted to do something also interesting. I decided to see, since I already know that it takes that people that qualify for screening are people from 45 at least and above. And I want to see if there is a burden of transportation for them. So it's much more older people that are qualified for the screening. And it will be a whole lot of stress for them to try to go to this, screening and then come back. So transportation is a major issue, not like, going there is the issue, but like, the time for them to go there and then being on the vehicle for that long. So I also ended up doing a network analysis, using network analysis to do a service area um, analysis. And then here you can see mostly, most of the green parts are, most of the green parts are like uninhabited areas or like forests and all that in the south, at least. But in the north, it's still more like the same, but there's still a little bit of habitations in there. But the key thing that I also wanted you to see is how places in the south have the lowest drive time of, let's say, 20 minutes or 30 minutes. If you can see like in towards Miami-Dade and up north and towards those coastline. And the same thing happens if you look at Tampa Bay Area and Sarasota. You could see that there's still a lot of resources and all that. And when we also go north, in more like in the center, you see that there's roughly an average of, let's say, 40 or more, 30 minutes or more at least. And it just prompted me to think that could it be that maybe these people in this area, it's a longer time for them to go to, to these facilities to at least get tested and then keep on going back. And even in lung cancer, once you do the first testing, you also have to do the second one. So so that was what I was also thinking. And if you take a look at this, you see where the facilities are, that there are still some possible counties that don't even have those screening facilities. So in one of these counties here, in the north, the smallest one in the middle, have a high rate of lung cancer mortality, and still yet um it doesn't have a screening center according to the data from the American College of Radiology, where lung cancer facilities are located in Florida. So yeah, in conclusion, it's become important for us to to try to go down in geography in further studies. To go down, when I mean go down in geography, these studies was based on county level. And in the future studies, I intend to do more like census block kind of study to be much more detailed into, okay, now we are in, let's say, in a particular county, where or which neighborhood in those county needs more help or needs more outreach to help solve the problem, or needs, kind of solves and narrows it down. So that's my idea in taking up this study to the next level, which will be gathering data on census blocks of of lung cancer mortalities and over time, and then seeing how that plays a role if it's different from what we have on a county level. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you. And if, if you are also a student here and want to see how I went through and how I did some of these, you could also try out the YouTube channel that I posted on how I did this. And then also, you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you once again. And I'm open for questions and sharing of ideas. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. If you could at least stick around in the chat for a little while as we
Okay.
bring up our next speaker.